Good morning, dear Dhamma brothers and sisters. It's good to see you on this Sunday morning. Although I have been invited here to speak on something considered not very pleasant. It is on illness, as mentioned by Sister Levin. And it is something that most of us are trying to avoid. So, we are looking at illness. And this series that we are discussing and looking into is one that looks at the realities, the different phases of our lives. And although it is not pleasant, it is something that we cannot avoid. So last week, Brother Boonkat talked about aging. And aging is something no one can avoid. Today, illness, some people can avoid physical illness. There are some people I know that they are very, very healthy and very, very fit. But that doesn't mean they avoid these illnesses forever, for as long as they live. That means somehow there will be physical illness creeping into their lives at maybe the later stage. So it's not something that we can choose. And we also have to see, why do we need to discuss it? Why do we need to understand it? Because most people say, I'm not going to attend a Sunday Dhamma talk that tells me about, how much suffering, how much aching, how much pain, how much unpleasantness I will be going through. Because I know, if we have illness, it's something that I don't want. I want to recover from it as quickly as possible and lead my life. I'm here, I am born, I'm a human being, therefore I must live like a human being. I don't want to live like the expression sick dog, or in Chinese, sick cat. In the Western people say sick dog. In Asia we say sick cat. Bang mao. Yes. I don't want to live like a sick cat. But the Buddha said we have to look into it, because the more prepared we are, the more ready we are to tackle what is coming. And it will come. There are, of course, the living beings, such as the devas, who don't really get sick. For the main part of their life, they have no illnesses. But towards the end of their life, they will feel very, very uncomfortable. So even as devas, they do not escape sicknesses. Although very short, they will have to go through it. So it's something inevitable, unavoidable, inescapable to sentient life. You can see animals also, they get sick. I've had dogs and cats, they get sick and then they also die. So on such a beautiful Sunday morning, let us open our heart and open our mind so that we can understand this. So that we can put our finger on its very nature. What is it really, being ill? And then when we have more understanding and perhaps some insight into it, we can meet anything that comes with more courage, with more optimism and with more wisdom. So as I was preparing for this talk, I looked into various articles. I also listened to many talks, and I came to this conclusion or an understanding that anything to do with health, any article or any sharing with health, will usually fall into 5 categories. First category is how to avoid sickness, be free from it. So there are all these articles that I saw in the health, in the medical sites. They talk about, eat this, do that, exercise, drink a lot of water, get enough sleep, so that we don't fall sick. Many of these articles exist. So the first thing is, even as a human being, there is an understanding that we should try not to fall sick, be free from it. So many articles address sickness or illness from this point of view. We must be healthy so that we can do things, we can do work, we can enjoy ourselves, we can come and mix with friends. Try your best to be free from illness. A lot. I'm sure you have come across it. The second one is how to maintain your good health. So these are things that talk about exercise and taking your vitamins, and all these kind of things. You have good health, and a lot of it talks about maintaining good health at different stages of your life. When you are young, you don't have to think very much about good health. Anything you eat, anything you do, you're okay. But when you get older, you can't simply eat what you want to eat and, be comfortable. There are things that you have to be very careful, and there are things that you cannot do because the body, as it ages, is not able to accommodate those kind of activities. So there are many articles about this. I have come across, and many talks, and people share their experiences, how to maintain the good health, how to keep on exercising. They say that as you age, you must do what you call some kind of bodybuilding, because we lose muscles. And if we don't do this bodybuilding thing, the muscles become soft. And when it becomes soft, you cannot carry things anymore. So interesting things there I have learned. And then you also need to, as you get older, you need to train your balancing abilities. Because when the balancing is not good, people will fall. So there's this range of exercises, stand like this, stand like that. Then your balancing becomes more stronger, and then you will not lose your balance, when you trip or you kick something or whatever happens. So that is how to maintain your good health. Then there are a lot the articles of how to overcome your sickness. Talks about this kind of sickness, and there are so many sicknesses that befall people in this world. There are these. There's a sickness that attacks your immune system and makes you tired all the time. It's called lupus. It's an auto kind of the body attacks itself. So it's strange to find out that the body also is not able to maintain its own health. The body fights with its own systems. So there are so many articles about how do you overcome it, very many. And there are also all these articles that I have seen that tells us, especially in such times, how we are going to overcome COVID symptoms and all kinds of conditions like that. Then there are these articles, how to live with sickness, accommodate it. So if you have diabetes, you have hypertension and all that, live a full life, but you have to accommodate it. You have to manage it. Then your life will be okay. Now, there are people who, although they have diabetes, they will eat anything they want to eat. And then their life becomes shortened. They cannot have a full, healthy life. And then there are these articles, which are very, very, not many of them, these articles. These articles teach us about how to understand the true nature of illness. They don't appear very often. And you have to go to some kind of philosophy sites and religious sites. And even there are psychology websites that deal with this. But they are not part of the mainstream. If you just type on your news or on health and all that, they don't appear so much. And these will help us, these articles help us to understand the true nature of sickness, what it actually is. And when you have it, how do you look at it and absorb it actually, so that the suffering that a person goes through when he or she is sick does not get worse. Because there are, of course, always two aspects of the sickness. One is the physical sickness, body sickness. And then after that, you have to deal with it through your mind. How does the mind take the sickness? How does the mind view the sickness? So in those sites, and some of them are very interesting, it tells us how to be wise to the illness. So today I will be touching a little bit here, a little bit there. But because we want to open our eyes, I will try to emphasize a little bit more on how do we become wise to our illness, to these coming stages of our life. And we look at illness because, number one, it is a reality. And we consider that when we reflect on illnesses, it makes us wiser people. Just as the Prince Siddhartha had to go through these 4 sites. It's very famous. When we go through Sunday Dhamma school, we all learn about Prince Siddhartha and the 4 sites. In fact, I wanted to download and then show you a small clip from this film called Little Buddha, with one of a very famous actor called Keanu Reeves. So he played Buddha. So there is a clip which I came across when he saw a sick man, and maybe not such nice images to see on Sunday morning. They showed sick people, deformed people, that he had to come across, to see, which gave him a kind of an awakening. It kind of shocked him. To me personally, even when I heard these stories, I asked also my teachers, excuse me, does it mean that Prince Siddhartha's father didn't look old? He didn't have uncles. Maybe his grandfather, grandmother, and all those relatives were not around. But does that mean he didn't have older relatives than his father? So it was a bit hard for me to accommodate it. But later on, I've heard other speakers say he did have old people around him. He did have, he himself must have gone through maybe chicken pox, measles, and all those kind of things, which are very hard to escape even during that time. So I take it to mean that he saw it all the time, but at a certain time, it hit him harder. Because that was when he was starting to reflect. He was starting to become very sensitive to the processes of aging and sicknesses. His mind was moving towards understanding why do people have to suffer, have to die, have to fall sick, yeah, and all these kind of incidents. So these four sides are actually the Buddha to be. Yeah, he had no choice. Yeah, we have choice. He had no choice. He had to go towards these realities so that it made him feel the urgency of looking for the truth. So for us who are a little bit more mature, a little bit more senior, yeah, that kind of urgency is also needed. Mind you, I had a friend from he is, I think he's still alive. I haven't seen him for very many years. He's a British person. So there was one day we were discussing work, and then after that, finished the work, and I asked him, Peter, what do you think about dying? And he said, no, I never think about dying. I don't want to think about dying. When I die, I will just die, finish. When it comes, it will hit me, and I will collapse, and that is the end of my life. Yeah, so that is the way he viewed dying. He viewed the end of his life. Yeah, when it comes, he will just collapse, fall down, finish. Yeah, end of the story. So I hope he is that lucky. That is, he will collapse and die. Because there are not very many people, who are that lucky. If they, in fact, I've had a revision of my view of how people die. Yeah, I used to be very scared of heart attack. I hear this person get heart attack. I hear that person get heart attack. So I think heart attacks are terrible things. But then now I'm beginning to reflect. Heart attack means you collapse and you die straight away. Hey, that's quite good, It's very fast. Yeah, in fact, that's how my mother died. She went into hospital for a broken hip. Yeah, she spent a few days, and then one morning she had breakfast, and then she fell back and had a cardiac arrest, and she died. Yeah, although the staff tried to save her, they couldn't bring her back. So I thought, hey, that's really fast. It's a fast way to die, you don't have to stay in bed and everybody look after you, and then you feel miserable, and everybody is doing their thing and you cannot go out and do your thing, and there is this mental aspect of this illness that really, really makes you feel worse. If you cannot do, and you're so used to doing things and you can't do it anymore, that is, I think, additional suffering times 200 times 300. It's a lot more suffering, than the actual physical suffering. So let me share some of my reflections. So it's not easy. As I said, it's not easy to think about illnesses, but it's necessary, because as Buddhists, we have to face the realities of life. Yeah, not like my friend want to run away, never want to think about aging and dying. So no one is immune. We cannot find anyone who is immune from sicknesses. And there's always somebody in our circle who is suffering from this, who is suffering from that, maybe, rheumatism, arthritis, diabetes, whatever it is, there's always somebody. Yeah, and this COVID thing, seems to be is the question is not are you going to get it? Is when are you going to get it? Let's get it lah, and then be over with, right? So it's still circulating. Yeah, and once in a while I check the figures. These figures are not really encouraging figures, because it goes up to thousands and then it comes down, then goes back up to the thousands and then come down. Yeah, and many people are still dying. It's double digit, as I heard yesterday. Double digit deaths, not just 6 or 7. Then we often think that serious illnesses befall others. It is not us. Yeah, so that when we get something like cancer or whatever it is, we think, hey, it shouldn't happen to me. Other people only get it. It's not me. So there is a period of why happened to me? You know, unlike late chief, he told us he had prostate cancer. When the doctor told him, Venerable, you have cancer, he laughed. And the doctor said, this is the first time I ever told somebody he had cancer and the person laughed. So he asked, why are you laughing? So late chief used to say, I cannot avoid it. This is as long as you have a body, you cannot avoid such things. They will come, they will go. Yeah, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't have it. So, you know, he took it very humorously and very, yeah, and in his normal manner. He didn't think very much. He allowed the doctor to do whatever doctors do. And then he recovered from it. Yeah, the cancer went off. But eventually, he also passed away, yeah, due to old age. So, wisdom is the ability to see and to accept that we may fall sick at any time. You know, there's another organization which I also help out. You know, there's this. They have a Sunday Dhamma school, and then my children went to the Sunday Dhamma school. And then one day I heard that this young boy had the leukemia, had cancer, yeah, among the students. So they all visited him, they went to hospital, you know, and tried to cheer him up. And he wanted to sit for SPM, his SPM, but I think before it got to the SPM, he died. So such a young person, you think it's not natural for people to die. At that age, you know, they should be doing all these things that prepare them for the life. But we cannot choose. We don't choose. We can't say, yeah, you know, I want this, I want that, and I don't want the cancer and all this. No, we cannot choose. If it happens, it's just part of our life. So, right, it's very interesting. I'd like to share this with you because different religions look at illnesses in different ways. And some of these ways, I think, helps to people to accept it more. There is one branch of Buddhism here that says, it is said that those who overcome a major illness deeply savor or experience the taste of life. In this school of Buddhism, illness is regarded as a stepping stone towards enlightenment. So when you get sick, you must think, I have to go through this, yeah, in order to be enlightened. And then the misfortune of a severe illness can become, as I said, the stepping stone to a state of absolute happiness that endures for all eternity. So if every Buddhist looks at it in this way, it will be really good. Yeah, I'm sick, so I should try to understand suffering. And if I understand suffering more deeply, I will become enlightened. Now, that should be the way. But not everybody looks at it in that way. Yeah, the first question will be, why me? Why not the other person? Yeah, I'm so good. Yeah, I go to Nalanda Center every Sunday and help out and do this and do that. I shouldn't get it. No. Yeah, my heart's so good. So this is the thing that we also have to understand. Yeah, that we cannot, as I said, we cannot pick and choose. If it happens, it happens. No matter how good or how bad, it doesn't mean bad people don't fall sick. Yeah, it also doesn't mean that good people don't fall sick. It comes with the body. It comes with the existence. So it's sad. I saw this and I thought it'd be good to share. There are young children who lose their parents. And not that, what I'm trying to say is the disease doesn't affect one circle of people. Diseases affect a wider circle. So if the parents die, what happens to the children? Yeah. So this, the effects of illnesses is actually quite wide. Yeah, it goes further than we normally think. Now let's look at how does Buddhism, what does Buddhism say? So there is this Dhammapada verse, Arogya parama labha, santuti paramang dhanang, visasa parama nyati, nibbanang paramang sukhang. So this verse, I more or less memorized it by heart, because when I was training as a novice under late chief, we have to memorize Dhammapada verse each day. And this was the first one. Yeah. So he give it to us one night. The next night, you must stand up and recite it without referring to anything. So this was the first one that we learned when we were training under late chief. It goes, good health is the greatest gain. Contentment is the greatest wealth. The trustworthy are the best relatives, and Nibbana is the highest bliss. So it says here, yeah, arogya. Yeah, arogya means not sick. Yeah, not affected. So it is the opposite of rogya, arogya. Good health, to be free from illnesses, is the greatest gain. Some people interpret it as the greatest gift. That means if we have it, it is the highest benefit. So we should not take, we are learning from this Dhammapada verse, we should not take it for granted. Yeah, we should look after our health all the time, maintain, think about our health. Yeah, how much water to drink, let's not overeat. But sometimes can't be helped because, you know, when Chinese people get together, it's all eating. I don't know about Indian people. Right? So we have to be aware of the good effects of good health. We must be aware of it. Yeah, that we should not lose this good health, so that we can lead, you know, productive lives. So exercise, you know, do exercise. Yeah, do all kinds of stretching and all this kind of thing. Eat the right kind of food so that we will benefit from good health. Of course, the Dhammapada verse also goes to say, if you are contented, you are very wealthy. You are rich when you are contented. Because why? You are not thirsting, hungering for other things. And the trustworthy are the best relatives. Visasa paramanyati, the people that you can trust. Yeah, better than your relatives. Sometimes you have relatives, but when you call them, they don't come. Yeah, these people that will turn up when you need them the most, those are your true relatives. Yeah, they are real karmic relatives. So, yeah, we know who they are. Yeah, there are people, and sometimes we don't know who they are until you get into a difficult situation. And then the people will start popping up. Yeah, I will help you, I will help you. Yeah, those are the real good relatives, better than, you know, even your immediate family. And of course, Nibbana, the freedom from suffering, yeah, is the highest sukhang, the highest happiness. So is Buddhism good for health? According to this article, Buddhism is good for health. Because this article talks about how meditation and the philosophy of the Buddha, how actually it improves our health. Do you know, I've shared with some of you, I think, when you take the 5 precepts, certain very good substances are released into the body. Yeah, just now when we took the 5 precepts, according to medical science, This is not just me talking. If you want, I can share the article with you. When we take the 5 precepts, certain happiness chemicals are released into the body. Imagine that. So keep on taking 5 precepts. Because every time we chant Panatipata, there are these things that go into our body. We experience a sense of well-being. It makes us happy to observe precepts. Well, the Buddha actually said this 2,600 years ago. Yeah, when Ananda asked the Buddha, Lord, what are the benefits of Sila? And the Buddha gave a whole series. Sila leads to happiness, happiness leads to contentment, etc. Leads to jhana, jhana leads to insight, insight leads to enlightenment. Beginning in where? In Sila. Right? So we shouldn't look down, on the simple precepts of taught to us as Sila. So clearly, here it says that, and this article came out in the New York Times, a very respected newspaper. It says that Buddhism is good for health. So there are the benefits, I share this, showing the benefits of the Buddha's teachings. It is good for our health. Yeah, and sometimes I marvel at my meditation teachers because their skin very nice. Yeah, they don't put cream, they don't put lotion, they don't put, and sometimes they are in the jungle full of mosquitoes and worms and all these things. But through their practice, you can see the complexion is very, very nice. Yeah, they don't have to really put in a lot of effort. So that goes to show that through the practice, it improves our health. It makes us more healthy when we practice this. So this aspect is one of the objectives that I showed you. It is, how do you overcome problems through the Buddhist teachings? It is optimistic. And it lets us know that if we are having problems, we can find some kind of relief or solution in the Buddhist teachings. It's an optimistic view, which does help us. We are not, rejecting it. It really does help us. And then, when it comes to prolonging our lives, this article that I came across, actually a very long time ago, came through CNN. It says that if we do more meditation, and this explains why my meditation teachers look so young, it really keeps you young. Because from the chromosomes, this X here, right, is got a stopper. This X, every arm of the X has a stopper. As we get older, the blue stoppers degrade, and our genetic material, our chromosomes, flow out. And when it flows out, we get old. But it's been found by this Nobel. She's not an ordinary scientist. She's a Nobel Prize winner. She was awarded the Nobel Prize. It says somewhere, if you read this, 2009, not that long ago, like 50 years ago. It's just in 2009, she got the Nobel Prize for finding out that if you maintain your chromosomes endings, you will stay young. And she also found if you practice insight meditation, those blue stoppers remain strong and solid. So there is good news for us. That the more we practice, the more we understand the Buddha's teachings, it will maintain or improve even our physical health. So it's good news. It's very optimistic. But what did the Buddha really say? There are good news here, and it shows us that we can maintain our health. But what is the right way to really look at this physical condition. Oh, okay, yeah. At this stage, I would like to hand uh, the mic over to Sister Somei, yeah, who will share with us the teachings in Dhammapada verse 41.
Verse 41 is actually a Dhammapada story of the story of Tisa, the Thera with a stinking body. Buddha uttered the verse 41 at Jetavana Monastery. Once Buddha was wandering, teaching and preaching. He came across a community of monks, and this was his monks. And then he find that in that community, there was a monk who was suffering from a debilitating disease. It was a skin disease. This monk has sores and he has boils all over his body, from the top to the bottom. And the boils become very bad sores. And when the sores burst, pus and blood oozes out from the sores. And it was very sticky, it stained the robes, and it has also a very strong stench, a very nauseating stench that all the monks couldn't stand it. And so all the my brother monks left this monk alone. And because of this monk was actually called the Putigatata Thera, the monk with the stinking body. And when Buddha came across this monk, he was there left alone, unable to fend for himself, unable to bathe, unable to have a change of clothing because he was really unwell. So Buddha then took pity of him and took care of him. Buddha went to boil some water to bathe him. So as Buddha was trying to carry him out from his place to outside to bathe him, the monk who was staying around there saw that Buddha was helping him, and then they came and helped the Buddha. They carry him, the monk, with the couch, put him outside, and then they bathe him, and they gently scrubbed him until he was clean. And they also took his clothing, wash and dry it. Then after that, they put back, they put on his clothing for him, and he was feeling very fresh in body and mind. So during this time, Buddha then admonished the monk. He said to the monks, all of you here, all of you here, you do not have your mother. You do not have your father here with you. If you do not then take care of each other, who will then take care of you? So the Buddha then said, whenever you see a sick person, treat the sick person as if you are treating me, myself. And the Buddha went on to give a short sermon. Then the Buddha said, even if one day our body will be useless as a fallen log, when we are alive, we should still take care of our body. And at that moment of time, Tisa the Thera, he was very alert. Because of the, he has a fresh bath and he has fresh clothing, he has a very high alertness, and he managed to attain the one-pointed concentration. And by listening to the Buddha's sermon, at the end of the sermon, he actually gained enlightenment. Very soon, Tisa the Thera, he passed away. So, brothers and sisters, let us take a look at verse 41. Verse 41 basically is, I try to read. Achirang wata yang kaya, patawim adisesati, judo apeta winana, niratang wa kalinggarang. Before long, Alice, this body, deprived of consciousness, will lie on the earth, discarded like a useless log. I would just like to share a bit on my own reflection after studying about this verse 41. Personally, I mean, this is my own reflection. I find that a lot of time we tend to take our youth, our health, our life for granted. Even though we know like certain things are not good for us, we still do it. Like, we may stay late into the night, doing something that we enjoy, watching movie or do whatever that we really like. Or it can also be like, because we wanted something, we overstress ourselves. So all these are actually ways that we can abuse our body, even though we may know that health is important, but we have a tendency to give in to our cravings and sensual desires. So in that aspect, when we really reflect upon it, we should know that health is the greatest gain. And we will need to make sure that we are healthy mentally as well as physically. The other reflection that I have from this is that we should also be mindful to do daily reflections on the 5 daily reflections, particularly on aging, death, illnesses. Of course, when we are young, we never really think about all these things because we are young anyway. But then, of course, we gradually grow old. We see people around us falling sick. Sometimes it can even be our children. So we have to, when we reflect on it, upon it frequently, you will find that it will help us to reduce our attachment. It help in a way, in the long run, it will actually help us to reduce our suffering as well. Whether we are sick ourselves, or it can be people around us very close to us, if they are sick, are we going to be peaceful? Are we going to be happy? Especially if people around us are sick, we will not. There will be stress that kind of appear from it, worry, So that is why it's actually, to me personally, it's important that we kind of reflect on it. Just a touch on my personal experiences. Like, I think I've shared before, one of my son is actually an autistic child. Okay, when I first know about it, somehow I'm lucky to say that I just accepted it. I never think about why it happened to my son. Why is it like that? My view is like, okay, he's like that. I read up about the condition. I just see what is it the next step that I should do and help him. But I have also come across many, many parents. They are in denial. They couldn't accept it. Some of these parents are very well-educated professionals. They can be doctors, they can be lawyers. I mean, of course, it comes across from all walks of life. But you can see that the denial is actually causing a lot of suffering to the family, because a lot of time I come across is usually the mother who will be bringing the child for a lot of other treatments or whatnot, or the sessions, and the other parent will kind of like be at the sideline. So it just go to say that, whenever there's an illness that before us, whether it is to ourselves or to our family members, it actually create a lot of worry and fear, to all other family members. That's why, in a way, acceptance and being able to accommodate to the illness is actually very important to our peace of mind. Yeah. And of course, having good kalyana mittas, good friends who can support, who are supportive, is really, really very important. As Acharya Siang Chye just now was sharing, trusted friend is the best relatives. So people who come about then to help you are the most, the people that you really find that can give you the positive energy to move on. And the other things that I learned from here is the mental cultivation, which is, I find, is very important for us to develop, so that we can find peace and contentment, and also be more accepting of things, of the nature of things, of the impermanence of things. One day, our body will be like a fallen log, useless. But during this time, when we are still able to cultivate our mind, we should make haste and try to cultivate our mind, so that we can achieve the highest bliss of Nibbana. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Some, for the sharing.
So this is an interesting verse. So you can see the picture of the man, of the dead man, lying next to a log. And if we really are able to see the reality, in actual fact, we are no different from a tree log. Because we are still made of, we are rupa, we are made of matter. And tree log also is made of matter. So we are actually not much different. Yeah. So now, thank you, sister. Let's take a look at the another aspect. I mentioned about the mental condition. And there was once the Buddha described 3 types of patients. That means when a person is sick, how do people react to recovering? The Buddha said, there are those who do not recover whether they get or do not get proper medical attention and care. And there are those who recover whether or not they get proper medical attention and care, and those who recover only with suitable medical treatment and care. So the Buddha is trying to tell us that some people will recover, some people will only recover if you look after them, and there are some people will not recover at all. Yeah. So this is the truth of our existence here in this body. So, but whatever it is, there is still hope. As long as the person is alive, we cannot say, oh, you belong to this category. How do you know? Yeah. As long as the person is alive, we must give this person the best possible medical attention, and hope for this person's recovery. We cannot make decisions. Then we come to very difficult situations, like if a person is maintained, the life is maintained only through the machine. Yeah, the machine pumps the blood, yeah, through the body when, because the heart or some other organ is not able to function well. So there will come a time when the doctor will ask the relatives, the parents, yeah, or the wife or the husband, this cannot go on, yeah, you must make a decision. So what do you do? Yeah, can you make the decision that says, I now think this person should pass away. Stop the machine, and this person can die. Or do you really want to maintain this person who is not really alive and can only function because of the machine? What is the way out of that situation? So I don't know, at this stage in life, I don't know whether I will be in this situation. But if I'm in this situation, I will let you know now, please switch off the machine. save the electricity and the money. Yeah, because I remember late chief also telling me that there were people he knew. They were very sick. Yeah, and sometimes I will accompany him. I accompanied him once to visit one of the members who just had a heart attack. And the chief was very comforting to him and telling him, you will get better, all that sort of thing. Yeah. And so there were a few cases which, we saw among the members in those days. And I remember also one sentence he mentioned. These people, they are sick, but they get well. They manage to go through it. But you give them a few more years, they're going to die anyway. And then I got struck by it, because we were quite happy that this uncle, that auntie, among the community, they recover. But Chief said, look, nobody escapes death. They get well now. They might have a few more years. Yeah, it's lucky, it's good. Yeah, it's fortunate. You have more time to spend with your family and your friends. But at the end, you will still die. You are not really saved, yeah, as such. So that had quite an impact on my thinking, I was thinking, if you save now, die later. So what about in between? You spend so much time, so much money, so much effort, you go and boil the herbs and all that sort of thing, you drink. But at the end of the day, you will still pass away. So there must be in me, I was thinking, what is the way to get out of this? What is the way to get well and not die? Is there any way? There is no way. Yeah, the only way is we overcome this situation. Yeah, and it was a beginning. Actually, it opened a new door. Yeah, in my study of the Buddha's teachings. Those kind of situation. So we take a look at why is it that some people fall ill and some people don't fall ill? Some people, they fall sick and they recover. Some people, they fall sick, yeah, and they don't recover. Some people fall sick and at the very late stage of the disease, and they only find out, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they're going to die. Yeah, I had one of my mother's cousins. This is what happened. Yeah, 3 weeks, I think 3 weeks before she was going to die, she went to the doctor and the doctor said, hey, you don't have long. And shock also. Same thing with my father, my father, he lived to quite a ripe old age, 94. And towards the end, we saw that he was not breathing well. Every time he drank water, he would choke. So to us, he has the flu. Okay, after a few days, we took him to the hospital. And he goes to the UH. He used to go to the UH, so all his records are at the UH. Yeah, we wanted to see the doctor, get some antibiotics, get some medicine, and then we go home. So we took him there, they examined him, and they said, oh my God, he has to be admitted straight away. I said, no, he's got flu only. No. The medical officer explained to me, his lung is only at 20% capacity. Yeah, and so they admitted him, and eventually the medical officer, another lady, came to me, and he said, Mr. Tan, your father doesn't have long left. I said, what? He's only got flu. I want to take him home. I said, no. This is when a person comes to the end of the life. One of the first things that you can see breaking down is the breathing, the lungs. Of course, he wasn't eating much already, but he couldn't breathe, and he would choke whenever he drank water. So then I began to understand that a person's health will decline. And you really don't know when it is declining to the final stage. Because to us, he just has a heavy cold, he's got flu only. It looked like a cold, but it wasn't. His lungs were just getting worse and getting worse. And the whole system also getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So eventually, a few days later, he passed away. It was just like that. My mom said, let's take him home. We don't want him to die in the hospital. So took him home through an ambulance. And then they removed the oxygen. And when they said, when I removed the oxygen, not much time left. So we put him on his bed, and we called the monks. The monks came. Monks did his chanting. He loved his chanting. He chanted every day, morning and evening. He will do chanting until he got Alzheimer's. Then he also forgot the chanting. So we wanted to teach him chanting. He didn't want to. So this is what happens to the mind. He could chant by heart a lot of the suttas. So after the monks did the chanting, we asked them to have some tea. And then after that rush, my wife called us back. He just breathe, finish, ended. So I think he was very happy to listen to his chanting before he went off. So these things, are the processes of our body when we are dying. And sometimes we really don't know. We think that it is not serious, but it is actually quite serious. And we are not doctors. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I couldn't recognize it. That's why we stretch a few days before taking him to the doctor. So it's karma. We are kept alive by our karma. So we don't know what karma we have, how long do we actually have, and what are the ways that we are going to pass away. So this is the same story as what the sister Some explained, that the Buddha showed great compassion and understanding. So our attitude following the Buddha's example is be compassionate to those who are sick. This I learned at a very late age. Because when I was young, I avoided sick people. I didn't like to be near sick people. But, when you look after parents, you begin to understand. You cannot step out, step away, and not care about them. So you have to develop compassion towards sick people. Don't think that they are a burden to you, that you don't have to look after. You want to avoid, you can give up. So this is how we train ourselves as the Buddha's disciples, because the Buddha did really say it. Those who look after the sick, they look after me. This is the verse. Then there are also ways, due to our mind-body connection, that if we know how to reflect upon the wholesome, that wholesomeness can cure us. Because this body relies on the mind. This is something that if you go through bhavana, you will see that the body actually relies on the energy of the mind to keep alive. And I have let you know this. In my research for this, I came across a talk about how the mind influences the health of the body. This doctor gave the story of a case. They experimented on a new medicine, divided the people into 3 groups. First group got the medicine. Then the control group got looked like medicine, but not medicine, sugar pill, a placebo. It's called a placebo. And the third one, don't do anything. Let's see what happens. Those who took the new medicine, a lot of them, 80%, 70, I think if I can remember, but this is what I can remember offhand, 75 to 80% cure through the medicine. The one who didn't do anything, no cure. Yeah, some of them got worse. But the one who took the sugar pill, you know, some got cured. You know what is the percentage? 35% of them got well. And they were not taking medicine, but they thought they were taking the medicine. So through their minds, their belief, the optimism of taking medicine, they cured themselves. Yeah, not small number, 1/3 of them got well. So you can see that there is this great, very hard to explain connection between mind and body. And because they thought they got medicine, they got well. So here within the Buddhist circles, we have heard that those who, understand certain verses, such as here I put there, the Bojjhanga. Bojjhanga are the factors of enlightenment. Yeah, and if you do practice for enlightenment, they are the great friends, the companions, the support energies for further practice. So this 7 is written here. Yeah, I'll just read it out for you. Yeah, for those who actually understand it, the Bojjhanga is useful in healing physical ailments. So when the Venerable Mahakasyapa and Mahamoggallana Theras were sick, the Buddha chanted to them the Bojjhanga. So Satta, there are 7 of them, Satta Bojjhanga. Go and look it up. And then you must practice, because if you don't practice, you don't really understand their value. And they gain good health. Yeah, and the Buddha himself, when he fell sick, because sometimes, as monks, they eat whatever people give to them. So he had some dysentery, he had some headaches and all this kind of thing. So he asked the monk, Chunda, to recite the Bojjhanga to him. So even as the Buddha, when he reflected on the wholesomeness of the Bojjhanga, he got cured. Then there is this case of the monk Girimananda, where the Buddha asked the Venerable Ananda, he said, listen carefully, I will chant. You then go to the Venerable and chant it back, word for word. And the Venerable Ananda could do that. The discourse on the Dasa Sanya, the 10 perceptions, what we perceive through our minds. And this monk got cured. There is a sutta called the Angulimala Sutta. Have you heard of it? Do you know what it can do? This Angulimala Sutta, delivered by the Buddha to the Venerable Angulimala, the great serial killer, who killed so many people, but then became a monk. Yeah, and then he gained the enlightenment. Saw this woman as he was going for alms round, trying to give birth. But she could not give birth because the baby was in a very, I think, not a very right position. She could not give birth and she was in great pain. Then the Venerable Angulimala went to the Buddha and reported it and said, what can we do for this lady? And the Buddha said, you do this and you chant this. So he ran back, to the lady. He chanted, yeah, and he made an affirmation. That means he used the power of the Satya, yeah, to affirm what he had chanted. The lady gave birth, more or less straight, immediately. And without so much pain. There is pain, but it wasn't the pain that she was enduring previously. So this Angulimala Sutta, for your information, if you want to, if there's any lady about to give birth, you can let her listen and she will usually have a very easy childbirth. Now there are cases I know personally, yeah, and this is one of my friends, yeah, who Mrs. Chim, the wife of SJBA president, she was about to give birth and she couldn't. And she said she was in great pain. She, doctor tried to do something, I think turn the baby or whatever. I think it was the son. Yeah, they have 3 girls and 1 boy. And eventually, it didn't work. So the next course of action would be to operate, to do the C-section. But then somebody said, wait, go and get the Angulimala Sutta. She listened to it. Within, I think, half an hour, the baby came out. So she is a great believer, she really will support this efficacy of the Angulimala Sutta. So there are these things that we cannot explain. Yeah, and the only way we can explain is it is the power of the mind to control the body when you have faith. You need to have the faith. You need to have saddha, yeah, in order for these things to work. So if you are not well, one of the things which is important, yeah, here is when your physical body is sick, do not allow your mind also to be sick. Try to be positive. Try to be, optimistic that whatever it is, yeah, it will get well. And if it can't get well, just accept it. There's this story of Ajahn Brahm. He was very, very sick when he was a monk. So they had to take him to hospital. He was really, really bad. So in the hospital, his teacher, Ajahn Chah, came to see him. So asked him, how are you, Brahma? So how are you, teacher? I really am very bad. So the teacher said, well, if you get well, you will get well. If you die, you're going to die. Said that to him, So he said, okay, I will accept whatever happens. Then luckily, he didn't die. He got well. But I mean, some people can say this is very hard-hearted, you're very cold. But the teacher was just trying to tell him, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to accept it. If you're going to get well, you're going to get well. Yeah, if you're going to die, just prepare the funeral. We will prepare the funeral for you. That's the way, yeah, it goes. And here is another story, yeah, of the monk with dysentery. Yeah, I think he had some scars, sores also. Same thing. Nobody wanted to look after him. Yeah, and only the Buddha and Venerable Ananda went to him, and eventually the Buddha told everybody off. He said, look after your sick brother monks, when you are able to do so. Okay? So now, there is this, why do people fall sick more often than others? Why do people have physical suffering more than others? And it boils down to karma, yes. Yeah, we will explain it through karma. But more so in detail, it's not just karma, it is sila. Yeah, the sila, of course, gives rise to the karma. Here, in this Chula, the smaller one, the shorter one, Karma Vibhanga Sutta, the Buddha explains karma as a condition for one's illness. So we here, yeah, are usually very well behaved people. But there are others out there that are not so cultured. And they can be very, very violent. Yeah, and don't think twice about making others suffer through physical beating and whatever. So in this sutta, the Buddha said, yeah, there is a case where a woman or a man, it doesn't matter, yeah, because sometimes there is a child, and I've seen people beat children. I couldn't believe it. You know, he took the boy, this man took the boy and threw him into a drain. I thought, hey, am I watching video? I cannot believe what I was seeing. Yeah. And I was going to stop him. Then my friend said, no, if you stop him, we cannot go out from this place because it's a kampong area. Yeah, my friends who know them said, you better leave them alone because once they block the road, we cannot leave here. I got a shock. But anyway, the Buddha said, there is a case where a woman or man is one who harms beings with his or her fists, with clods, with sticks, or with knives. That means really beat them up. So there are some of these people, the children, or even workers or orphans who come under their care, they beat them up, make them feel a lot of pain. So through having adopted and carried out such actions, on the breakup of the body, they will go to a plane of deprivation. That means they will go to the suffering worlds. But if they don't go to the suffering worlds, the Buddha said, if instead he or she comes to the human state, then he or she is sickly wherever reborn. This is the way leading to sickliness. Yeah, you be sickly, you just cannot function. You cannot get up, you cannot do things, you cannot live your life like others. So those people who ask, why am I like that? The Buddha explains it in this sutta. You have hurt others. You have made others not be able to live properly. Now you are in the same state. But karma is such, it is not one to one. You know, it is not I hit you, you hit me. When it comes back 100, 1,000 times due to that hatred and the greed and the delusion. It is multiplied. So if you hit people with anger, it is multiplied. Anyway, with no anger, you can't hit anybody, right? I'm not sure. We can talk about it. But only when you have anger, you hit people. And that anger multiply that physical action. So when it comes back to you, it is a few hundred, maybe 1,000 times greater, the suffering. So the Buddha said, to be one who harms beings. If you harm beings in any way, with fists, slap, hit, with clods, I think some kind of stick, or with sticks, or with knives, you harm beings. Yeah. You will have to pay for it later in a physical way. And if that physical way disturbs your mind, you will suffer bodily and mentally at the same time. So we have to be very careful of our actions, yeah, and it also means that those small animals and all that, we don't go and give them a hard time as well, right? Because sometimes you have seen them, there's this rabbit farm in Genting, the rabbit farm somewhere. Oh, the kids, you would think that kids will love these furry rabbits. No, I've seen them kick the rabbits, squeeze the ticket. I said, what are they doing there? The parents buy the ticket, let the kids go and check it. The poor rabbit. I couldn't. I couldn't understand it. Yeah, I thought kids are all very kind, love the rabbits, hug the rabbits, stroke the. No, this kid kicked the kicked the rabbit. So okay lah, good. You kick the rabbit. You just wait and see next time. When you got aching here, aching there. But people don't really understand why the karma comes. So this is about the mental aspect. Late Venerable Master Thich Nhat Hanh said, life is full of suffering, but you don't have to suffer. So he said there is a choice. We have a choice. We can have suffering in the body, but let us not have suffering in the mind. Yeah, let us still keep our composure, our optimism. Mental suffering usually comes with physical or bodily suffering. The sick person usually feels sad and angry. Yeah, why is it happening to me? And why does it happen to me now? Why doesn't it happen to me later when I'm older? Yeah. Now is the time for me to, work and earn money. Some people will say, yeah, this is the time for me to, get ahead in my life, and then suddenly I fall sick. Yeah, and it happens to one person. This young man I knew. I don't see him anymore. Yeah, we were supposed to do some projects together, and then I was warned not to work with him. And he was very, very healthy, earning a lot of money. Then suddenly I found out he had kidney problems. He needed dialysis. So his way of earning fell quite a lot due to the sicknesses. So people like that get very angry. And when the anger comes in, the suffering is multiplied. The bodily suffering might be quite small, but the anger, the disappointment, the anxiety also. You know what happened during the COVID? People become very, very anxious, very, very worried. Yeah, and they get angry because they cannot go out and make a living. Yeah, and luckily here no protests, but in China they protested. They just couldn't take it anymore. So anger comes out, show itself. This is why it is wise for Buddhists, to understand suffering at a young age. What does that mean? It's good to take children to go and see old and sick people, such as the old age homes. I believe it is done here, but some other places they don't do that so much. Or go and see sick people. Of course, must be well protected now. So that children, young people, begin to understand that health should not be taken for granted. It doesn't mean that we are healthy, we will always be healthy. There might come a day then when this health disappears. So how are you going to react to it? How are you going to live your life if that happens to you? So important thing I mentioned just now, sila or morality is an important factor. When a person lives a moral life, it is easier to develop wisdom and equanimity. So this is how we should train our young people, live well, let others also live well. Don't go and disturb them. Don't give them mental problems, anxiety, and worry, and you will be all right. If you go and disturb others, how they live, you will have problems through the karma later on. So in order to avoid mental illness, Buddhists should practice bhavana and understand the mind. But we should not think that, if we meditate, we will cure all our sicknesses. It is not to be understood in that way. So, reflections. Let me end this. Right. Here is the real part. This is a bit uncomfortable, but this is the deeper teachings of the Buddha, where the Buddha says you must confront the realities. If you are not born, then you are okay, but you are born. And now Not just are you born, you have come across the teachings of the Buddha. When we were wandering in the past, yeah, through countless births, sometimes I wonder, countless births we are wandering without encountering, coming in touch with the Dhamma. What kind of life, could we live? We could have been really violent people, bad people, doing a lot of unwholesome things. I will share with you, I have a feeling in the past I was a soldier. Yeah, I get this natural ability to shoot people with a bow and arrow. I cannot explain, but whenever I pick up a bow and arrow, I'm very good at it. I don't know why I'm so good. I get a feeling that it is right for me to shoot people. Yeah. Yeah, and it is something that I was talking with a friend about it. Yeah. And he also very interested in archery, and he told me the same thing. Yeah, that he has this ability. He thinks he also in the past shot people with a bow and arrow. So when I was young, I bought this bow and arrow, from a friend. I saved my money. I bought a bow and arrow, and then my mother threw it away. She didn't like to have me shooting things, in the house, right? But to me, it was something very, very interesting. So we never know what are our what we have been going through in the past. But since we have this opportunity, and it makes a great difference to come across the Dhamma, to study the Dhamma, and to practice the Dhamma, we must know how to get the best use, the best benefit, the best gain from this Dhamma. So, we turn our minds to a deeper contemplation. In this sutta, Pariyesana Sutta, in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said, monks, these four are ignoble searches, not noble, not right, not done by those who are wise. There is a case where a person, being subject to aging, seeks happiness in what is subject to aging. Then, being subject to illness, he seeks happiness in what will fall ill. Being subject himself to death, he seeks happiness in what is going to die. Being subject himself to defilement, he seeks happiness in what is subject to defilement. So it's quite deep, and I think it is beneficial to reflect upon this. So what it means is, we look for happiness in places which are not suitable. We look at people sometimes and say, to somebody that we love, or we are very, very caring to, I hope you don't get old. This person is going to fall sick. And we say to this person, I hope you don't fall sick, so that we too can be very happy together. And then we say to this person, I hope you don't die, so that we can live a long time together. And this person is subjected to defilement. We look upon this person as a perfect person, can never hurt you, but it doesn't happen. So whenever we meet people, and please tell me if you don't agree, and we start a relationship, we expect a lot of things from the relationship. We expect it to last. We expect it to give us happiness. We expect it to satisfy us. But then, this is what the Buddha said. So, it doesn't mean that we turn off the things in life. But when things in life do not go as we plan, we reflect. Then the Buddha said there are these 4 noble searches. That means the person looks for things in the right places. There's a case where a person, being subject himself to aging, realizes the drawbacks of what is subject to aging, seeks the unaging, surpasses rest from the yoke, unbinding. Then, same thing with illness, realizes the drawbacks of what is subject to illness. Then, subject to death. Then, subject to defilement. So this goes back to what I was relating just now about late chief telling me about how this person recovered a few years later, died. Eventually, it encouraged me to seek something that doesn't grow old, doesn't fall sick, doesn't die, doesn't have defilement. Yeah, I haven't found it yet. Yeah, but I'm looking. Yeah, looking very, very hard to find it. So knowing this, we know how to approach the circumstances of what happens to us in life. Now, as Sister mentioned just now in a short sharing, to prepare ourselves, we have to bring it up to mind. And this will be a sharing, a reflection from the Upajjhatana Sutta, which talks about subjects for contemplation, in which the Buddha explained, these are 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or ordained. Which 5? Firstly, I am subject to aging. I have not gone beyond aging. This is a fact. So, whenever I look in the mirror, less hair, more gray. Yeah, that day I met my teacher, Venerable Sujiva, after many years. He said, Siang Chye, your hair all white. I said, yes, Bhante. I'm getting old. So this is a reflection. Secondly, I am subject to illness. I have not gone beyond illness. So eventually when people tell me, you got this, you got that, I have, what do you call, visceral fat, all sorts of things. I have to do something about it. But you cannot run away from it. You have to reflect. I'm subject to death. I have not gone beyond death. I will grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me. I am the owner of my actions. This is karma, heir to my actions, born of my actions, related through my actions, and have my actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do for good or evil, to that I will fall heir. This is karma. So whether you do good, or not so good, it will all come back to you. So these are the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or ordained. So it helps. This actually helps because it prepares us. It is not common, not normal between inverted commas, because normal people don't reflect upon this. Like my friend, the British guy, Peter, he doesn't reflect at all. He just wants it to come and finish, but it doesn't happen that way. So I hope I have covered all the aspects, the 5 aspects I was telling you about. There are great things. Yeah, and the Buddha's teachings, our practice of the Buddha's teachings, our understanding can keep us healthy. Yeah, can help us. In fact, there are stories of people having cancer who cured it through the practice of the Buddha's teachings. Yeah, there's a book called Dhamma Therapy. You might be interested. Compiled by Ayasma Agacita. Yeah. You can talk to him about it next year at Wisdom Park. Yeah. So this is what happens to us in this life. Why are we here? I really don't know. Yeah. Do I choose to be here? I also don't know. Why are you here? Yeah. Why are you alive? So these are the questions, if I'm not here, what will happen to me? Whatever it is, I'm not quite sure. I haven't found the answer yet. Whatever it is, we are subject to these things. We are subject to aging, to illness, and to death. Yeah, and to all kinds of uncomfortable situations where, pandemic is one of them. We never thought that there would be a pandemic, but a pandemic came actually and still stayed with us. And in that pandemic, many people suffered. Some people went into depression. Some people committed suicide. Yeah, they couldn't handle the suffering. So many things can happen to us. So therefore, when we reflect on this, we are more prepared to meet it, and we can deal with it with more wisdom and presence of mind. So let me end now with an aspiration. I'd like to thank you. Yeah, let us make an aspiration that we develop deep understanding so that we can live our lives well and wisely. Yeah,